G'day folks, welcome to my Eitan star tutorial. First thing I'm going to say about this is that most of my tutorial videos I do solving the entire puzzle, all steps and all parts of the puzzle. I'm certainly not going to do that with this one because I don't want to set any records for YouTube video length. This puzzle is a beast of a puzzle in all the good ways. It's quite a large puzzle and it's incredibly complex. Even though there's only 4 piece types, we've got the corners, centres, triangles, and then these edges. Only 4 piece types. It's a very, very difficult puzzle. I hope to make it at least vaguely understandable to you. Now, the way that I'm going to do it is basically solve 1 or maybe 2 of each little stage and then cut out and cut back into the next stage. So, don't know how the video will end up. Might be a little bit disjointed, but stick with it and it'll be fine. I just want to scramble that a little bit more. I don't like that. Let's get that out of there. The turning of this thing is pretty good, and the thing that I've found is it's probably reasonably a good idea to, to lube it once in a while. I think it needs a little bit of lube every now and then. So if you've got some lubricant, then by all means use it. I keep trying to scramble these things and they won't scramble, so I'm just going to probably start with... No, I don't want to start with that one. The only other thing that I do want to say is that the colours, they should come out okay on the video, but there are 20 different colours here, and so there are some extremely similar colours around. For example, some blues. That blue and that blue are different. We've also got a couple of greens that are very similar. In fact, I've got a green here, the green here, the green there is a different green. I think that, I don't even know anymore. My eyes have glazed over. So there may be times when the colouring's a little bit hard to see, but be that as it may, it'll be fine. Now, the way that I'm going to do it is solve one half of the puzzle. So I'm going to start looking at it on the top and then turn it over and consider, keep it in the screen, consider that the bottom of the puzzle, and I'm going to have all of this solved. Once we've done that, it'll look really pretty and it'll fill us with confidence and we can go on and solve the rest of that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is find a corner that I like. I'm going to build it up around a corner, not around a centre. I'm happy enough with this corner, and I'll begin by attaching the edges to this corner. As I said, I'm not going to attach them all. I'm going to show you how to attach one of them and skip on to the next section. Let's find one that's clearly distinguishable. So here we've got a purple-white position that needs to have a purple-white edge go here. The way to consider this, to get the edge up there, is to think, where does it come from? It's sitting in that position there. So if I turn that up, that's where I need my purple-white edge, and I need the purple on the left, the white on the right. The reason that I say that is there are 2 purple-white edges and the other one will be white-purple. So the first thing is to locate that edge. If we can, this could take a fair while. Perhaps go get a coffee. Not always easy to... Oh, there's one. Now, once we've found it, it does take some getting used to as to how to turn... not how to turn the faces, but which faces to turn to get the result you want. For example, if I want to move that, I think maybe I'll turn that. No, that doesn't go. Which one should I turn? Should I turn this face? Oh, I'll just turn that face. It didn't work. If it's right next to a centre, that will turn. But we can turn other faces, for example, that one there, and this piece will turn, the one we want. So it may take a little bit of getting used to. It did for me. Now I've found that purple-white piece and I want to move it around. If we remember, it's coming from there. So I want to move it to this position. So gradually turn it around. I can keep going if I want. I can always turn it around a face, and this is a good time to mention that any edge piece will turn 2 spots around on a face. So there's no way that I can get that edge piece to there just by turning this face. I'll have to take it off the face. But I can turn that around and it's gone 2 spots over to there. So now that it's on the correct face where I need it, I'll look and say, can I get it to there? No, because it can only go there. So that means when I'm in that position, basically I want to turn it off that face and take a different route and perhaps come up here on this face, more often than not that'll get me to the position that I want. Now it's now on the face. I can turn it onto the position that I need, like so. It's now in that position, ready to turn up, and I just check, is it purple white? Yes it is. That's good, ready to turn up. Now just imagine that you've already got a few other edges done here. What do you do to keep them? You simply grab that, push it out the way, turn up your edge, and then bring it back. Now just to show that it'll work even if we've already got one there, let's do one more. I've just broken my promise. Blue purple. The blue purple is coming from here, so I've got to grab a blue purple and put it in this position. There's a blue purple right here, so let's attempt perhaps to get that one around there. I'll have to turn it off onto some different faces. So we'll move it around here, bring it back up to that region. Where did I need it? I needed it here, I believe. Yep. So now that it's there, I can turn it around the two spots to that position. And it was a blue purple, not a purple blue, so that's the correct one. So it's ready to be turned up. You can see now that as I turn the corner off that way, the edge that we've done will go with it. And in fact, even if I'd done this edge, all of those other edges go with it. So turn it off, turn the edge up, turn it back, and that's done that. Let's cut to the next section. Alright, well all the edges are done, and it's now time to place the triangles between the edges. There's really two ways that we can do this, or two positions for the triangle to be in before we start. One of the positions is where it's here, so we need to manoeuvre it until it's in a position such that if we turn it up, it would land where we want it to land. So that blue triangle is in that position. Now this is on the left, I'm turning it up from the left, and so that tells me in order to push these things out the way, I must turn the left first. Push it to the back, and push the right one to the back. Then I can turn that up into position, push that one back, or bring it forward and bring this one forward. And you can see that everything is still intact. So that's one way to do it. If that piece was down here on the right, then you would push the right out the way first. The other possibility is that your triangle is actually on the face. If that's the case, there's nothing to think about. You simply push either the right or the left out the way in any direction, and then that turns by turning the face into its position. Then we can bring back what we've done, and that is how we do the triangles. Rightio, with the triangles all done now, we're starting to look like something's taking shape. I'm now going to turn this over, so this is the bottom of the puzzle, sitting it like that. The next thing that we're going to do is the triangles on either side of this centre, including the centre as well. So these three pieces here. So the first thing we want to do is locate the centre that goes there, and it happens to be here. And it needs to be, if we think about where this is going to come from, it's going to turn from either here or from here. So I need to get that purple centre over to there. You can see by turning that face it's not going to move. So the first thing I need to do is turn it off, and having done that I can turn another face, and there's a lot of freedom at this stage to not have to worry about disrupting anything because it's only this bit that we've done. That's now in a position to turn down to here. So might as well do that and feel better about ourselves. Now the centre is in. We want to also place these triangles as we go, and so in order to place the triangles we're going to take or make use of the fact that we can turn them onto a face when the centre is up here. So the first thing to do is get the triangle and put it onto this face or this face, which is the same face that the centre was just on. Here's a couple over here, so we'll turn these around, and this triangle is now on the face that it needs to be. Now what we'll notice is as I turn the centre up, the triangle that I placed there is stationary because it's not moving. However, all I need to do now is turn that face and bring it back down, and that has now been attached. So if we grab the other one and do the same sort of thing, bringing it up this way, we want to get it onto that face, and this time when we turn it up we'll notice that it's on the side, that's not going to move. So I'll turn that up. Even though that one's there, that doesn't matter because these two are the positions that are going to go back down. So I'll turn the face, put them both in those positions and turn them back down. And doing this will not affect any of the other triangles when you do it. So that is very simple, and we continue that for all of them until all of these are done. Well, with all the centres and their adjoining triangles placed, the next thing that I'm going to do is place the edges above those pieces. Now I'm going to do the first two of these and the last two, because the first two are extremely simple. The last two are, they're no harder than all the rest, but we might as well do all the rest and then go to the last two. So the first thing here is that I want to make sure that I find the correct colour, and I know it's a blue, but I've got to get the correct blue. The other thing is blue what? Blue something. So I note that it's blue, green, something, 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 and I've got to find that on a corner. And I'm going clockwise. And to me it looks like it's this corner here, blue, green, pink. And if it's blue, green, pink, what comes next? Blue, green, pink, something, something, blue, green, pink, maroon, and another green. So it's blue, dark green, which is what I've got to place in these positions here. So I've got to find two edges which have blue, dark green on them. That looks like one of them over there. So I'm going to bring that over to nearby, first of all, and then we'll talk about where it needs to go. As to where it needs to go, let's just have a think about this. That is going to come from there. So there is a position just above the corner, above it, where it's going to turn from. And so that's where it needs to be. Now we think of this and we go, the blue-green can turn two spots around a face, so that's what we'll do. Put it up there. We've got green on the left and blue on the right. Now the first thing is we've got to check that it's the correct blue. I'll bring that around, and that is indeed the correct blue. It's very simple to get these wrong, and that's how easy it is to place that one because there's nothing else in the way. With another one here, we can place them in any order, of course. I might as well do the other blue-green, and I reckon it's this one. Now this one, you'll notice, is one spot away from where it needs to be, so it can't just turn onto there using the face. So when we get to this, there is a very simple technique to bring it down to here, and it's kind of travelling around faces like we did earlier. So what we do is we turn it to the back, then we turn this face around, we turn this face around, and then it is now two spots so we can turn that face around. And it's been placed where we need it to be. And again, because there's nothing in the way over here, we can just turn that down. Let's place two of the edges. Let's cut to the last two. Now down to the last two, they'll all be done the same as the rest of these. And we want to again find the piece that goes here, which is a purple something. I guess there's another way that we could tell what it's not going to be. It's not going to be purple blue, and it's not going to be purple white. So there'll only be one other kind of purple edge. So that is the one we want, and looks like we can find the correct colour purple, because that's another one. There it is, purple blue, unless that was the one. No, that's the right one. So we'll bring that around closer to where it needs to be. And in terms of just double checking that, if you do want to double check, you can again use the corners, because we can see that so far we've got orange, light blue, purple, something, something. So we find a corner that has that. There's an orange, light blue, but it's going the wrong way. Here we go. Orange, light blue, purple, and then there's the dark blue. So it's definitely that piece. So having located them, we want to put them, there's one of them there. I'll get that one out in a minute and show you how to do that. Here's the other one which we want to put into our position. So that can be turned across to there, and it's ready to go. Now, one thing to note is that it can't be that one because that'll be flipped. So it's got to be the one coming down into that position there. The obvious problem is that I don't want to knock that out. So what I need to do is consider that when I turn this up to there, that orange blue, as long as I turn this face, that doesn't change. So my method is going to be to turn the piece that I want, which is up here, using just that face, turn it out of the way, bring its position up, which is now here, turn it back onto its position, and you'll notice that it keeps that piece there, and then turn it down. And that has successfully kept that one there and placed that one. Now, this is good that this has happened because this is where the other one is, and it's stuck down here. So it's between these two bits. To get it out, we use a simple edge piece series. So we're basically removing this thing down to there and all of that out to here. Down, down, up, up. And it hasn't touched this stuff around here. There it is. So once again, it's one spot away from where we need it to be. So we'll start by turning it just to above it. And again, we go back, around, around, and around into position. Having done that, this time we're going to be turning it up this way, and it's the white grey that we've got to worry about. So we think, where's the white grey going to land? It's going to be there, which means we've got to turn the face this time so that it leaves that position intact. Turn that off, turn this position up, and in so doing we'll bring the white grey up. Turn our blue purple back to where it belongs, and then replace. And that's as complicated as it gets for the edges. Well, the next part of the solve is just to continue up this line, and we're not going to do the centre, but we are going to do the triangles just above these edges. We'll do the centre and this triangle last. So just these triangles above the edges. What we want to do is very similar to what we did before in placing the first set of triangles. So we first want to locate where they're going to be. So if I turn this face to there, you can see that it's going to put the position there. So what I want is to have my required triangle on this face, or where are we now? On that face or that face. Either of them will work. So I'm looking for a pink triangle. There's one of them. So we'll first turn it so that it is on the correct face. Now, remember I said that it needed, well, did I say that? Can't even remember. It does need to be there. So I turn that around before we begin, because what I'm going to do is turn its position up. I'm going to turn that pink piece onto here. Now, as I do that, you can see that it knocks out the edge. So the only extra thing to do is move this out of the way before we begin. So we turn that down, turn the face to place the triangle, turn the edge back into position, and then bring the whole lot back down to where it was. And you can see that is still there. That has placed the triangle, and nothing else around it has been touched. Let's do it for the second edge. And the second edge will need to be over on this, sorry, the second triangle will need to be on this face, because we're turning it up like that. So the second triangle is here currently, so let's go ahead and turn it up to that face. And again, we think we're moving that up to there, so this is the correct position for it. So we can turn the face up. Before turning the triangle into position, remove the edge. Now turn the triangle, bring back the edge, and drop them down. And all 5 sets of them are done in precisely the same way. Well, looking at the bottom of the cube or the puzzle, we can see that it's starting to take shape outwards. We come now to what is the most annoying part of this solve, or certainly the lower half, and that is to place this section in here. We've got 3 edges, a triangle and a corner, and I'm going to break it up into an edge corner edge triplet and a triangle edge double, and we'll do the edge corner edge triplet first and then store it in here. So we need to find the correct edge. It's a white purple edge. We need to locate where that is, and there it is there. There's only one of them, so it must be that one. And we want to place it so that it is in that position there, if we can. So it doesn't matter where, as long as it's this position, and it doesn't really matter how long it takes to get it there. There we go. And we're still on the equator, so if you consider that, this is the lower half, it's on the equator in that position. Now, having done that, I want to find the corner that corresponds to it. So it's a white purple corner, as in purple white going clockwise. And that looks like it there. So I'm going to bring that around so that that's closer to it, and I want it to be in the same orbit as that edge, so it can just turn around like that. Now, we can see that it's correct, purple white, purple white. I need to turn it round. There's a very simple technique to move this thing 2 spots clockwise, and it as follows. One turn of that face, then the corners on the adjacent face, move it up to the top, turn it down again, and hopefully you can see that's gone 2 spots clockwise. We need it to go more. One turn of that face, adjacent face to the top, bring it down again, and we can see that 2 more slots and the white will be around to there. Up to the top, down to there, and we've placed the corner with that edge. Once that's done, we need to look over to this position here and find the, I don't even know what that colour is called, pale pink blue edge. And it could even be that one there. In fact, I reckon it might be, or is it blue? Blue pink is going anti-clockwise, and here blue pink is going clockwise, so it is not that corner, not that edge, sorry. We need to find the correct edge. Must be this one, and this one is down in here again, so I need to take it out with an edge piece series, as I did way earlier in the solve. Here we go, I got there in the end. And I'm pretty sure it's that one there, and we'll just check it. Blue, whatever that colour is, anti-clockwise, and blue, whatever that colour is, anti-clockwise. So that's the correct one. So we want to move it. We've now got it into the same position, which is good, and I want to get it into this orbit just like before. So we'll firstly turn it up off there, and the reason that I didn't turn it around like that, in fact I can do that because I was thinking it was going to break it. I don't want to turn it off like that, but I certainly can turn it around to there. Now it's in the correct orbit, and I'll turn it around again and see how things line up. Now this is pretty common. It doesn't normally line up straight away. So we're going to do something similar to what we did before. We're going to at least attempt it. Turn it down and then bring it up to the top just like before, and then we go to turn it down, but it will separate. So if that happens, we've basically got to kind of rethink things and turn it off onto a different face, and then come back here like this, and then go again. That's still not right, so we'll turn it down, go up. We're in the same kind of position. Now, when that happens, and there doesn't really seem to be any way out, what we're going to do is turn it down onto this part here. That's attached to that. We want to attach it to this. Having done that, this interjoining, that is not a word, there's an edge and a corner edge bit here that we've made. There's a face between them. We want to turn it so that that centre goes up. Keep an eye on this, that's our edge. Now turn that off and bring our edge back. We're then going to grab our pair, which is somewhere. Where's it gone? Here it is over here. And we're going to bring it back into the orbit that we need it to be in. And it's not quite there yet because we can't turn that around. So we'll turn it up like that. Come back down, and that's now attached. So a little bit of a convoluted method, but it's pretty much the only thing that will break the cycle of where it is. Now, we've got the edge, corner edge triplet. We need to place it where it belongs. And this one belongs in here. So I've got the white purple to be here. If it's not there, I'll turn it onto that position so that I can move it down with an edge piece series. So we go down, down, up, up. And that has now placed those first three. You can see all the colours match up. That's good. Now, if I turn it around and I think, what's these pieces here? Well, I've got a triangle, which is exactly that triangle there, the colour, connected to, I don't even know, what am I going to call this colour? I'm going to call it Bob. I've got Bob and Bob Grey. Okay, so I need to find firstly, no, that's silly, pale purple or pale pink grey edge and put it up onto the top somewhere. So I reckon that is it there. So I'm going to just move that so it's up onto the top. I'm going to find another edge like this because there'll be two more that belong here, and then try and attach the edge to the purple grey. Now what I need to remember is that attach the triangle to the purple grey edge. That triangle needs to be pointing upwards on the left of the purple grey edge. So the one that I just put up here, I think to myself, can I have a purple triangle pointing upwards on the left of the purple grey edge? That one's on the right. So that's actually the wrong purple grey edge, which means I need to find the other one, which looks to me like that one. So I will in fact go ahead and move that one up to the top in preparation. And I can just confirm that that's the right one because I'll be able to place the purple triangle on the left pointing upwards of that edge. And that's now what I need to do. Alright, so the thing that I've got to think about is there's probably a couple of triangles that I can choose from, or maybe try and find the most convenient one, but that could differ. We'll have a look at, there's one sitting here at least, so we've got to move the triangle to near where the edge is, perhaps on this face, perhaps this face, because those are the two adjoining faces. In fact, it will need to be this face so that it can sit next to that. So the first thing is, why don't I move that out the way, the other way, store it down there, and then go and attempt to get this edge onto this face. And I think the easiest way to do that would be to turn the edge up, the triangle up to there, and then move it down onto this position. Okay, so it's now on that face. Let's go and find our edge, the edge again, and bring it back. Now, because it didn't come back to the right one, that is the wrong edge, and so our edge is actually here. So I can then go and turn that back to there. Now, all of that is to say that I've got the triangle and the edge on the same face, which is fantastic. The next step is to move that triangle next to the edge. So I'm going to turn that off, turn the face so the triangle's there, and then return that face to attach. It's actually pretty simple, and that's what we need to get to. Now, I like to check that I haven't stuffed anything up along the way, and all of this still looks pretty good. And you notice in here I've got these three ready to receive that one. And now's the time to think about how we're going to do that. Well, what we notice is that this is going to come out to here with an edge piece series, and when it does, it's going to sit like that, and my triangle edge piece is going to be here, and it's going to come from there. So I need to place my triangle edge in that position. So let's firstly put this back, and remember that it's going to be that position, so I'd like to move it there first. In other words, there's my pair, I need to move it to here. How do I get it to that face? A couple of ways, I guess, but I'm going to effectively use what's an edge piece series. Travel to here, and I think then turn that and bring that to probably down to this face if I can. Now what I'd like to do, if I think where's that's going to go, no, that's not going to work, so I'm going to rethink. Alright, yep, this will work. I'm going to edge piece series it, and that's going to go to there and then to here. So we'll move that up and just check that I haven't taken anything I shouldn't, and I haven't. Move that up, turn that onto its position and turn it down. It's now on the correct face. I think where's it going to be? It's going to come out and sit there, so it'll need to be in fact here, so it's close to the correct face, in which case we'll turn it like that and up and down. Alright, now we've got it on the correct face and we can turn it round. Apologies if it's getting difficult to see what's going on or to maintain direction, but that's now where it needs to be. Again, going around checking that nothing's been disturbed, which it hasn't. I'm now ready to move this out to here. How do I move it out? Edge piece series. Down, down, up, up. That's now sitting out here, and you can see it's ready for that to turn to there. Well, before I turn it, if I simply turn those on, you can see that it pushes out those bits there. I don't want to do that. So before I turn it, I move what I've got out the way down to the bottom. Turn on my triangle edge and turn that back. And that's now created the complete set, and because it's already in this position, in order to place it, I just do the reverse edge piece series. And that's placed it all. It is the most annoying part without a doubt. That's how all 5 of these are done. Good luck with it. We'll come back with the last step, which is the triangle or the centre and the wide triangle. Okay, well we come to the last and easiest part, I reckon, of this lower half, and that is to place these centres along with the adjoining triangle. I've already done the other 4, so we're on the last one here, and the first step is to actually get the centre in there. So I'm going to place it up to this position to begin with, so that I can turn the position up to there. But to turn the position up, I want to turn the centre out of the way, position up, centre back, and bring it down. And you can see that's placed the centre and it hasn't disturbed anything else around there. And the next thing, I just want to be able to place the triangle adjacent to the centre. Now you'll notice that when that turns up, it's this triangle here that's not touched. So I want to put my orange triangle into that position before I start. So it's over here at the moment, so I can turn that around and then turn it across to there, and that's in position. Now, turning up, that attaches the centre to the triangle, and I can then turn that out of the way and return. Now you might think, what? We just placed the centre. We did just place the centre, but we're now going to place the centre triangle. And to do that, we have to turn this back and put it into the correct position. And I'll just explain what I mean by that. This piece here that I want to place will be there. So that's why I've got to turn this back and make sure the triangle is turned there before I start. And now I'm able to turn that pair off, turn the position up, turn that pair back, and return, so that that's complete. And as you look around, you can see that nothing else has been touched, and that is a very, very nice sight. The entire lower half of that puzzle has been completed, and that ends part 1 of this series. We'll move on to all of the triangles of the upper half after this. Well, onto the upper half. We've done the lower half, and we're now going to start with the triangles. We've got one in position here already. You can do the triangles in any order of this, but it does become a bit trickier because we've got much more restricted movement. And I'm going to first do this strip along here, except for one pair of them. It doesn't matter which pair, so I can use that to complete the other ones afterwards. But let's start with this one. We've got one of them already in position, so I want to place the other pale yellow one just here. So I've got to think about where the orbit of this piece is, and it can either go up to here. In terms of, if we look at where that's travelling, it can go to that position. It also could come around here to that position there. So that's kind of the orbit where I need my other triangle to be. So the first thing that I'm going to do, and there's a lot of setups with this sort of thing, just turn that initially so that I can get my piece into the orbit. I'm going to place it over to this side because at the moment, even though I could turn it there, I've got to use an edge piece series, and I'm not, if I don't do this, I'm going to have to involve something down here, and it just risks destroying some of our beautiful work there. So initially I can turn this onto here and then use this one down the back that we haven't needed to use yet, just to get that into a better position. And that hasn't changed anything. I don't even have to think about returning that yet because I haven't needed to. I haven't got anything over here done. So now I've got that piece into that same orbit where it needs to be. So having done that, I can do basically the same kind of edge piece series and move this to here, and then our piece down to that position. So that's what we'll do. And you can see it come together, bring it back down, they're both done. So we'll move along, we'll do we've got one maroon one done here. This other maroon one, we need to find out where it is first of all in terms of its orbits. At this stage it's over here, so I know that I could bring it onto that face if I wanted. I could also, this does involve a fair bit of thinking it through, so you may hear some pauses from time to time. That's the silent sound of my brain working. We also could certainly go around to here. We've got to think whether that actually helps us, and in this case it probably may. Okay, what we'll do is we'll move this over to here, I think. So moving that to there, we then got to think, at the moment it doesn't matter because there's nothing back here done. I can then do something similar to what I did before in terms of placing this over to there. Now it doesn't matter that these have come up because they're not going to be affected in the cycle that we do, and I'll just show you that. I'm going to move this around to here again. So this here is the basic, apologies for that, the basic 4-move sequence that we're going to be using. Now that these two are finished with, I can just put them down, store them back there, and I've now got this in the same orbit, so I can complete exactly the same move that I did just before. And you can see that that's placed those two there. So I've got 2 sets done. The next set I've got the light greens. So initially this one is in a nice position. I can even just bring that straight down without worrying about an edge piece series because it doesn't affect what I've done. The other light green happens to be, just trying to get the colours right here, right there. So I again think, well, where is that in relation to where it can go? Now that's in the correct orbit, which is good. So one of the things I could do, in fact let's do it this time, just a little bit of variation. I want to use this piece here, because if we think about the orbit of this one, that's going to drop down to there. It's going to come from, if we see where it comes from, this position here. That position is one that's taken with something that we've already done. So to get past that, we want to just basically put something else there that we don't care about. So I'm going to put this orange piece down there, and that should protect what we don't want to move. Now that we've done that, we're ready to carry out this to here, which is what we want. And you can see that even as I turn that up, these pink bits, which were part of the protected part, are not touched. And we've got that to go back in there. So the only thing we need to fix is just undoing the setups that we did, and as we look around, you'll see that things are still intact. Remember that that's the bottom, so all of this up to here was the part that was intact. So we've got 1, 2, 3 sets done. We want one more set of these things. Remember to be guided by this colour, not the colour of the centre. So I might do this set here. This is the, seeing if the white's done. So this is the cream colour. So we want a couple of creams to go in here. The first one is sitting back here, and that's a nice little position because I can turn this one up, then turn the cream onto that position, and then turn that back into its correct position. So that's one of them done. This other one is normally a little bit trickier when it's next to it, so the thing we want to do first is just take it out of this face. So I'll just rotate the cube a little bit, or the puzzle. In terms of getting it out of the face, I'd like to put it here so that I can move it. In fact, I'm thinking about the orbit there, so I can move it up to here somehow. So I'm going to turn that so that that can go to there or there. It doesn't really matter. Let's move it over to this one. So having done that, position up, piece onto position, undo those moves, if I can remember them. There we go. And you remember that we did do one little turn up here, so we need to sort that out. We've got those three, the ones that were done. We did do one setup, but it probably hasn't affected anything yet. So we almost don't need to worry about it. Except, yes it has, it's affected that. So we want to put that back, that cream one there. Alright, now that we've got this to fill, we want to think, how can we fill that? Well, we'd like to put this one into a similar orbit, or do what we did just before. So if we think about where this turns up on this face, it turns to that position. So I can certainly just rotate this face to put the cream piece there. The next turn is going to be, if we follow this, that's going to be down to there. So that means in that position there I need to put something else to take its place. So I'm going to turn this first around here so that it's in that correct orbit where I want it. Remember, that's coming down to here, so I want my desired piece in that orbit, and then I think that's going to go around. I can test it if I get stuck. That's going to go around to that part there. So I want to replace this with something that I don't care about, which is this up here. I can put that. So those are the setup moves, and now I'm ready to go ahead and move this to here as follows. Basically I want to cycle this piece to here, and that tells me how I'm going to approach the edge piece series. That to there, and then this one up to there, and then undo those moves. Now that's just the edge cycle. I've got to undo my setup moves as well, and I can sort of be guided by the colours here. I can see that those colours need to go back to there, and I can then see that I had one setup move of this face, although at the moment that doesn't particularly matter. Now, that's the face that we just did. That was the first face, the second, the third, and we've left one here to use from now on. And if you look around the lower half, you can see everything's still intact. So, having done that first phase, the next face that I've found that's useful to do is this face just above our last face here. So we need to figure out what colour should that face be. And we do that in the same way as we were doing it earlier in part 1, looking at the colours of the corners around them. So here we've got this sort of pale purple colour. We've got a blue, purple, something, something, what do we call that? Cream. So cream, blue, purple, something, something. We're looking for a corner that shows that. And here it is, cream, blue, purple, light green, orange. So if that's purple, this face is light green, and it's that colour green there. So we've already used the light green, so it can't be that colour. It's actually the slightly less light green, which looks like this. And we'll just check that there's no complications. There should only be 1, 2, 3 of those triangles available. So those are the triangles that we want to place. So one of them's already in position, which is always nice. So the other two, we think, how do we do them? Well, this one here, this is nicely set up, so we'll do this one first. And this, in terms of its orbit, is just going to turn around into that position. But, of course, we've got to protect this now. So, because of that, we can turn that to there. And then we can think, where's this going to go? Well, that comes over here. So that's the other part of the orbit that we now want to protect. And we can do that by using a piece on this face, which we haven't used yet. So we'll just set up by turning that down there. So now we want to turn the green into its position, bring up our sort of dummy piece, undo those moves. That's completed it, and now we turn back this face, and if we get stuck as to what we have to turn, we're guided by these colours. This looks like a bit that's done, so we turn that back into its position, and we can check, and everything's still intact there. So that has placed that second green piece. We'd now like to try and place this third one if we can. And again, if we think about the orbit, that's going to go up to there, and then that piece is going to come from down here. So the only setup move we need for this piece is to just rotate it to that position. And it doesn't matter that we've pushed out these two greens, because they're not going to be involved in the edge piece series. So having done that, we want this to there, this to here, and this will then return to that position. Let's carry that out. Up to there, put our piece on, move its position back, and complete the cycle. And then the last thing was just, again, being guided by the colours. These are the two greens which need to go back there. So just to take stock, this will be a lot of checking and making sure things are good. We've done these four. This was our face that we use to save till the end, and we've just completed the face above that. Now, the next two faces that I like to do are these two alongside it. And what I want to do is actually do just two of each of the face and leave another one free to complete these ones at the back later on. So once again, I need to be guided by the colours to figure out, for example, what colour this face needs to be. So we'll go cream, blue, purple, green, and I believe from memory the other one was orange. Cream, blue, purple, green, orange. So the orange pieces need to go on this face. Alright, so we think, how do we get them there? Well, the piece that I'd like to keep clear if I can is this one, so I'd like to fill these two. So let's see how that's going to work. I know firstly, I'm just turning the puzzle around, that will go to there and that will go to there. So I can certainly place this orange by moving it to that position. No setups required, and we'll just turn its position up, place the orange, return those moves. I'm always going to take the puzzle back to this starting position just so you can see what's happened. So let's place that orange piece into there. I'd like to then place one into here. So the other orange piece, or there's a couple that I could choose from, but one of them is here, and that may be useful and it may not be useful. We'll see in a minute. It's going to be useful, but I'm just going to have to turn it one turn. This orbit of this piece is going to go to the back, which is no good because I want it to go to here. So I think, where does this have to be in order to turn onto this face? Now I can see that if I just rotate that, the orbit of the orange now is going to be onto the face that we want to place it on. So I consider, what setups have I done? Well, I've turned the left face one turn anti-clockwise, and I know now it's going to go into this position, but you remember that I said I'd prefer to have it in this position. So all I'm going to do is turn the right face anti-clockwise as well. And so now that orange can place into that position. They're the two setup moves, and that will then come to there, which I don't care about at the moment. So turn, 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 and undo those setup moves. Both these faces needed to be turned clockwise to undo them. And you can see that the two orange pieces are now placed there, and if we look at everything else, those greens are still intact, and all of these other bits that we've done are also still intact. So I'm happy with that face for now, because I'd like to leave that one open. We then figure out what's the colour of this face. Okay, so again, using the colours, we're going, if we take these 5 colours around here, we've got green, purple, grey, green, something. So we'll find a corner that represents that. Green, here we go, green, purple, grey, green, red. So that tells me that this face must be red. And I've got a red piece in here, and it's in a position. I'd prefer it to be in one of these positions, but that's okay. If I've got it in there, I'll just take that. So the next question is, how can I get another one of these reds over to here for now? Again, checking the orbit of the pieces, I can tell that this piece here, this orbit will go to there. That will then come down to there. So that's not incredibly helpful at the moment. So I'm going to need to think about doing some sort of setup beforehand. What I'd really like is for the red to be able to go to here, because then that can turn over to there onto the red face. So if that's going to be there, that comes from that position where the pink is at the back. And that tells me that what I need to do is do one setup like this to put that red in the back position. And you'll notice when I did that setup, it hasn't affected that piece there, which is what I want to place the red on. So that means now I can go ahead and carry out this edge piece series. Having done that, I've placed that red piece. I undo my setup moves, check that everything's still intact. Yep, 2 oranges are there, 3 greens are there. I've now got 2 reds here. So I've actually completed the next little mini stage of this. And from here, the only faces we've got to worry about are this face at the front and these 2 at the back. And normally these are much easier to do. So hopefully in this case they will be. We figure out, first of all, what each of the faces at the back needs to be. So why don't we hope that this one's yellow, and in fact we can tell that it is because we look at this corner, which happens to be placed perfectly. We can see that the colouring is the maroon, the pink, which matches, this pale yellow which matches, and this bright yellow which matches. So I've got my 2 yellows at the back there. I could think about where is my third one going to be. At the moment my third one's sort of on the wrong orbit. I'd prefer it to be here, because that, in fact I lie, I tell a big lie, that is on the correct orbit, because that's going to go up to here and then down to that position. So this is really good. What it means is, because I can turn that up to there and this onto there, all I need to do is turn that back face one turn to prepare that as a setup. Having done that, I'm now going to turn that up, place my yellow piece onto it, turn it back and complete the setup or complete the moves. And you remember that I did turn this face one turn, so I just got to go ahead and figure out which direction I turned it, and I can again see by these colours, so those colours must go back to there. Let's take stock. Where are we? There's the bottom, so this is the lower half, which all still is intact. All of these bits are okay. This is our last face. This one at the front we did first. We did a couple here. Now you'll notice, and this does happen from time to time, you'll notice that I've accidentally removed one of the red ones that I wanted, and it's because it was in that position. And I guess it's a good thing it's happened, because I can show you, if you do this, if you do make the mistake that I've just made, what to do to fix it. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually undo what I did. I'm going to not bother turning this face because I can easily use that piece there. So I'm going to put the yellow back here, so this red will go back to where I wanted it to go. So we'll turn that up. And you say, what have I done? Well, I've just put those two reds back there which I wanted. Now you'll notice that this was, that's the position that I need, and so because of that I'm now going to turn this face first just to protect that position and use this. So now when I turn that, the two reds that I had are still there. Again, being guided by the colours, because I can never remember what's going on. These two greens look like they go back there. Let's take stock of where we are. We've got the two oranges still there, the two reds still there. We've now completed that back yellow face, which means we've got a couple of pieces here to deal with, and we've got the pieces at the back and at the front. So let's next consider what is this colour. And again, nicely, the corner is here, so we've got the pink that needs to go there, that darker pink. So my first question is, how can we deal with these darker pink? We've got a piece here and we've got a piece up here. So as I'm considering this, this is where the setups start getting a little more interesting. I can see that this pink and this pink are in the right orbit, and that is actually really pretty good news for me, because I'm going to be able to place both of them back here. So the only thing that I'll need to do initially is turn this face as a setup, so I can place the pink not in that position but in one of these. So let's firstly place this pink, let's say in that position there. So I want to turn that around so that that's now vacant, and this up to here, this to here. You notice when we do this, let me just concentrate on my move. Here we go, that last turn completed. Let's get the setups back. If I can remember, there we go. What I was going to say was, when we do this, I've actually got no idea what I was going to say, so there we go. We've got two pinks there, and I'd like to now place this pink, and so in order to get that pink into that position, I just want to turn that face. Oh, I know what I was going to say. When we do it, we are not disturbing any of the other triangles. We certainly are disturbing centres and edges, but because we're doing them last, that doesn't matter. Okay, so now I'm going to do exactly the same routine. Do apologise for the slight alignment issues that I'm having. Okay. Alright, here's the front again. Let's take stock of what we've got. We've magically managed to place the other two correctly there, which is always a nice little bonus. We've got that front one still done. We've got all the yellows at the back, all the darker pinks at the back, and nothing else that we touched is damaged. So we've actually only got really to swap this orange and this red. Because we've got multiple pieces, we can just use one of the same colours in a 3 cycle. Now, this last one does need some thought because there's such limited, well, not limited space I suppose, but we've really got to involve this piece, and one of the others. So we need to consider how we're going to be able to do that. I'm just going to have a think for a minute. Alright, basically, let's have a think if this is going to work. I can see that my thought process is this, that the red is going to go to there. So I could certainly turn that orange to there, but then the question is, how do I involve one of the other pieces? So this is where the setups become quite interesting. What I'd like to do, I think, is turn that to there, so this to here to there. Now obviously if I'm going to involve that piece, I need to get another red or orange down into that position. So probably what I'll do is thinking about what's got to go where. I'd like this orange to go to this face. I would then like an orange here to go to this piece, which is a red, which will make it an orange, and this red, which I'm going to put down here, to go back there. Okay, I hope you understand that. If you don't, let's give it a go anyway. These are all my setups. I'm turning the back right face clockwise to place that red in that position. I'm next going to note that, let's have a look. I'd like to put this orange around here. Now if you'll bear with me, I'm actually going to stop here, grab a pencil and write this down, and I would encourage you to do exactly the same thing with your setups because it is very easy to get lost. So the first setup that I did was to turn, I'm going to call this the back right. So I'm going to write down back right as my first one. That's in position, excuse the sound of the pencil rolling. I'm then going to put this orange piece, I'm going to put it in that position, and so I've turned what I'm going to call, I don't know, the right, clockwise. Then going to get my bearings, there we are. And the last thing that I'm going to do as a setup is to get this other orange piece around to here. So I'm going to turn the left face anti-clockwise. Now, yes, this is completely normal for setups for this last bit, for me at least. I've now got the 3 pieces into the positions where they're all in the same orbit, which is what I want. So I've got to think, which ones do I want to go where? What I really need to remember is that that red one needs to go over to this face. And so if I turn this orange onto that orange onto the red will come back here. And so that tells me that is the correct sequence of turns. So now I just do the edge piece series. Which is the simplest part of the whole thing. That's completed. Alright, it doesn't look like it's completed, but that's because I haven't undone the setup moves. I did write them down though, so I'm now going to undo those moves. So I turned the left face anti-clockwise, so I've just turned it clockwise. I apparently turned the right face clockwise, so I'm now going to turn that right face anti-clockwise. And I apparently turned the back right clockwise, so I shall now turn that anti-clockwise. And you might be amazed, I'm still pretty amazed that that works, but there it goes. If we look around, we can see that now all of the bottom parts of these triangles are done, and on these top 5 faces all of the triangles are also complete, and we've got a nice helpful corner here to show us that it actually does match up with the colours on the corner. In any event, really appreciate your patience through that. I felt that it needed to be done to explain the whole process. All the triangles are done, and we're ready to move on to the next video, to the corners. Well, we're up to the corners of this puzzle, and you might remember from the last video we ended up with 3 corners already done, which is pretty cool, but not overly cool for demonstration purposes. So I'm just going to quickly deal with that, so that I'll just leave these back 2 corners done, so that we've got 4 corners to do, because that's a far more likely scenario. So I'm just going to take these out and then talk about exactly how I would normally do corners, and you can see that everything's still okay there. All the triangles are still in place. So let's assume this is probably, I guess that's reasonably likely to have 2 of the corners done. So we've got these 2 done. That leaves us 4 to go. What we're looking for is firstly to find a piece that can roll along the edge of a face, such as that is what I'm talking about, rolling. So the first thing I might do is actually find one of them, and so I'm looking for potentially to see if that corner, when it rolls down, will position itself. Now you can see it's the correct corner, but it hasn't positioned itself properly, so that's no good. Sometimes you can turn it around and go the other way, it'll work, but not that time. This is a yellow, so I'm looking for where that might go to, and that looks like this. That's one option. That didn't work, so we'll try another option. No, still haven't found one that rolls, and if we can't, there are methods to deal with that as well. So where is this one going? Green, green, maroon, over to this corner. Okay, good, we've found one that's going to roll. That's the first thing, and we'll just keep that in mind, that it's rolling from here to here. And I'm going to hold the puzzle like this, and I'm going to count this as my upper face. And I'm going to just leave that sitting there for a minute, and I'll bring in my trusty cube. It doesn't matter what size. We're going to have a look at what we're going to carry out. It's going to be the corner piece series, and on a normal cube, a corner piece series, there are the normal one and its mirror, and upper turn of the upper face clockwise, and then right face away, anti-clockwise, left face away, upper face clockwise, right return, upper face anti-clockwise, and left return. And if you've watched any number of my videos, you will know all about the corner piece series, and that's what it does. Just moves 3 corners around the top face, doesn't touch anything else. And the important thing for our purposes here is that this corner came from here, and you can see that in that position it just rolled down the edge, and that's what I'm looking for over here. But that was on the left edge. What about rolling down the right edge? Well, that's when we do the mirror, and the mirror, we want something to roll down this edge, and you can see that that yellow, green, red corner, that will roll down that edge, and so that means this time the piece movement is like this, and so everything is mirrored. My upper face turn initially is anti-clockwise, and then instead of the right face being turned away, it's the left face turned away. Upper face clockwise, right away. Anti, left return, clock, right return. Now, that's all I'm going to say on the corner piece series. Have a poke around my channel if you need more instruction on that. But that's essentially what we're going to follow here. So the first step is to locate a corner that's going to roll. And from memory, it was this corner here. And you can see that that has rolled into the correct position. So I'm counting this here as my upper face, and I'm rolling down the left. So the piece movement normally on an upper face would be to here, to here, to here. But on this puzzle it goes from here to here, across to there. So that's the third piece. And so I need to have a third piece in that position to carry out this corner piece series. So I'm just going to look to place this corner only. So it doesn't matter which piece I get, but preferably something that I haven't already used. And this one's in position, this one's in position, all of these down here are in position, so I'm going to turn something else from this one here is not solved, so I can use that all I need to do is remember which moves I've done so that I can turn it back at the end. So I've turned that back right face, and then I'll turn the right face. And that's now my third corner, and I can utilise that. Now I'm going to carry out the corner piece series. Upper face clockwise, right away. Upper face anti-clockwise, left away. Upper face clockwise, right return. Upper face anti-clockwise, left return. That's completed the corner piece series, and I'm now going to undo my setup moves so that all the triangles and everything else has been put back. And what we'll notice is that that has now placed that corner there, and it left, well, which ones were the other ones that were done? This one here and this one here were already done. So that's placed a third corner. So that's, while you're down to anything above 3 corners, that's how you do it. You just need to find one corner that will roll into position, and then make sure the third corner has an unsolved corner in that position. Now, that leads us to the stage where we should have now only 3 left to solve. Now I'm just going to confirm that. Those are done, and that's done, so it is these 3 here. So again, we need to look for one corner of these that will roll along an edge. So at this stage, I'm going to see this one here will roll down, and in fact it does. So we can tell that because the pink and the yellow have matched up, and remember that's the maroon colour here that I'm interested in, and that matches up as well. So that's our first step, is to find that corner that rolls to there. So it's as if that's the first piece, that's the second piece. This is now the upper face, so we know that the third piece needs to be placed over here. Where is that third piece? It's over here. Now, this is not ideal, but it's not insurmountable. So what we need to do is move that around, like we did before, to get into that third piece position. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. My memory is not good enough to avoid writing this down probably, but initially the setups, I'll move it, I'll actually try and move it, there we go. I'll move that back, what am I going to call that, back down left face. In fact, I probably don't need to remember that one. Then we'll move that back left, and then the back, and that puts that third corner in exactly the same position as we had before. Now, even though everything's looking a little bit more messed up, that's okay because we'll undo those setup moves. But the key thing now is that I know this is going to roll correctly into that position. What I need to know is whether this one will go across and up here into its correct position. And the way I can tell that is that whatever colour is on this face, which is the red colour, not the maroon centre but the red triangle, that colour, which is going to be on the top, needs to be on this down right, the face that we can't see until I turn it up. That face there, which is currently a green, that needs to be the red in order for this to place properly. So the question then is, how do we rotate this around? We can't rotate it one turn, but we can certainly rotate 2 turns. How do we rotate that around so that the red is sitting there? So at this stage, I would try, the way to rotate a corner on a corner is to turn it off using one face and on using another. So for example, let's turn it, now let me see if I can, in fact what we'll do, so what I'm thinking here is that, just as an example, I'll turn it off using this face and then back on using that face. So you might be thinking, how on earth are we going to remember these setups? And I agree with you, and that is why I would recommend writing them down. So I'm actually going to start writing them down now while I'm doing this. This is a pretty essential part of it in terms of the setups in remembering what we're doing. So let me first see whether that moves the red the direction that I want, which is clockwise. So I said this face, which was I guess the front right face, and then the right face. Has that moved it around? Yes, it has. So that's definitely the direction that I want to move it. So we will write down front right anti-clockwise, and then right anti-clockwise. We'll write that down. Just holding my paper. And I'm going to write it twice because I know that I'm going to have to do that again. We have the piece in position here, but I need to rotate the red around again so that it's on this lower face here. So once again, I'm going to rotate the front right face anti-clockwise, and then the right face anti-clockwise. Now that's been done, and you can look at the puzzle now and say that is completely destroyed. It's definitely not. It's just the setup moves have done that. But the important thing is, as we look at it here, we want to know that on this front below face that we can't see, is it red? And it is red. So that piece has now been set up and it's ready to carry out the corner piece series. And we knew that this one already was in its correct position. So that's the main issue with carrying out these moves. It's not the actual sequence itself, it's the setups. Now that we've positioned the pieces ready, we carry out the corner piece series, which moves those three pieces, and away we go. Okay, that's done, and if you look very closely you'll see that that red has aligned itself with this red here. So the thing we need to do now is undo all those setup moves. So making sure I hold it in this position, I need to first turn the right face clockwise and then turn the front right face clockwise, and then I need to do that again. Now that has done that. The next thing that I need to do, you remember that this corner came from back here somewhere, so I need to turn that face and then that face, and then finally turn this one back like that. Now if we look around, we can see that in fact all of those corners have now been placed. So the trick there was not the actual algorithm of 8 moves, the trick was simply the setups. All the corners are done, and that's the good news. The only thing that I should point out is that you may see, this is the bottom half of the cube, with the setups occasionally you'll get an edge in the bottom half that has been displaced. To me that's no big deal because we can take care of that later on without that much trouble. If it was going to displace a whole bunch of edges it would be an issue, but I don't think it is, and the only time that'll happen is if we have to involve a lot of setups that bring these areas into our area of play. So in any event, the setups are not too simple, but the actual algorithm simple enough, and that completes the corners, and that'll lead us on to our next part, which will be placing the edges. Well, we're down to the edges, and this is, I would say, probably the most tedious and long-winded part of the entire solve, and all the other stuff apart from the centres is done. So we now need to place each of these little edges, and unfortunately we're probably only going to be able to place one at a time. Now the only thing that I will say to you is if we hadn't done the lower half we'd have 60 edges to place. As it is now we've got around about 30. So that is good. Now I thought at the end of the last video I showed how it is possible for a couple of these edges in the lower half to be displaced when placing the corners. So I thought we'd start by fixing up that. And I'm certainly not going to do all the edges. I'll probably do 2 or 3 and then cut to the last 3, I think. So in any event, I want to fix this one up first, the purple white. The sequence I'm going to use is a really a simple sequence. It's 20 moves long, so that some of you may think, wow, that's way too long, but I find it's very simple to remember and carry out. What it does is it cycles an edge from here to here to here, or the mirror in that direction. So it's these three edges. So they're quite close, very simple to see. And basically the edge, if we're going in this direction, so if we're going anti-clockwise, the edge that is here, the colour on this upper face will land on the left. So I'm going to find the purple white that goes there, and I'm going to turn it round as a setup to sit there. And so what I know is that that purple colour being on this face will land there, and that's what I want in order to place it. I also know that if I'm going this direction, the other edge here will flip, and that's going to be a bit of a hint to how we can start placing some of them later on. So let me carry out the sequence, show you how easy it is, and we'll place this one to begin with. So we want to hold it like this, and you'll remember with the corners we held it so the upper face had a downwards pointing triangle. This time we want to hold it so the upper face has an upwards pointing triangle. Now what we're going to do is basically, I'm counting this as left and right. It's probably more upper left and upright, that doesn't matter. I want to mainly turn these two faces, but to begin with, this one down here, this sort of, I don't even know what you'd call it, wide left or something. So here we go. I'm going to turn the wide left anti-clockwise, and by the way, I will put this in the description. And now we want to do up on the left, up on the right, down on the left, down on the right. Then I want to turn that first face clockwise, so down. And then the same sequence here, up on the left, up on the right, down on the left, down on the right. I want to repeat exactly what I just did. Turn this lower face up, and then go up, up, down, down, and finally turn this lower face down and go up, up, down, down. Now that's done, and we're going to just simply turn back the setup move. What you'll see is that firstly all the corners are still intact, all the triangles are still intact. It does move around centres, and that is why I've left the centres till last. Partly because this moves around centres, but also because they're very, very simple to solve. It'll be a bit of a relief at the end of it all. But what was I trying to place? That purple white that was here, now it's placed. And a fairly simple thing to get to know. You'll latch onto it very quickly when you're solving it. But that means if I count this again as the bottom, I've dealt with that one. And if I was being logical and theoretical, I might try and do this one. But what I'm going to do now is find something that will flip, if we can. May not be possible. So I'm looking for a piece that is in the correct one of these, but it needs to travel to the other one and flip. As I say, they don't always exist, and if they don't, we'll do something else. And by the looks of it, it's going to be quite annoying and not show up. So perhaps you've seen one out there, but I can't see any. So that means I'm just going to search for any piece that is in this sort of line that wants to come here. And in fact, that orange-green looks like it may want to come down to here. So the orange colour, that's a different orange to that. That orange colour definitely goes here, and the green also looks the same. So we're now going to be able to do exactly the same sequence that we just did. So the direction of the piece is going to be this down to here, this to here, this to there. So that means I don't need to do any setups because I'm bringing this one straight down. Hold it with the triangle pointing upwards, and we turn the lower left upwards, and then here we go. Up left, up right, down left, down right. Now this lower left goes downwards. Up left, up right, down left, down right. We're halfway through. and there were no setups there, so there's nothing to think about turning back, and what you'll notice is that that orange green has placed itself. Pretty straightforward. I'll find one more before I go off and solve all the rest of them, and I will make sure that this time we get a piece movement that's going anti-clockwise, just so I can show you the mirror sequence. So if I was searching for something here, I would probably try and find, let's have a look. This is sometimes half the battle, is finding the pieces to move around. Okay, good, we're in business. I've got the yellow-orange here, and that yellow-orange belongs down in one of these, and in fact it's going to be this one, because when you remember the piece movement went like that, and I said that the colour here would go to the left. Well, in the same way, this piece, the colour here, goes to the top, and I don't want that orange to be on the top. I want the yellow to be on the top. So it's got to go the other direction. So this means the piece movement will go like that. And so to carry out the other sequence, we still hold the cube or the puzzle in exactly the same way, but instead of turning this down, or this lower left face upwards, we turn the lower right face upwards to begin with, and then it's right up, left up, instead of left up, right up. Let's carry it out, see how we go. So lower left, and then right, up, left, up, right, down, left, down. And then we turn the lower left back. Right up, left up, right down, left down. So it's halfway through. Turn up the lower left. And then turn down the lower left. And that has completed that, and what we'll see is that that yellow-orange came from there. So the piece movement was, as I said, an anti-clockwise movement, and that yellow colour which was there came and landed on the top. I don't think we did any setups for that, so everything else is still intact. As I said, the only thing that moves around is centres. So as far as the edges go, that is how we place them. I'm going to skip ahead now and come back with perhaps the last 3 or 4 edges to go. Well, we come to the final little bit of these edges, and the first thing that I want to point out with the algorithm that I've been using, that's the bottom half, and you may notice that doesn't really look white, that doesn't really look light blue, and sometimes the edge moving will cause centres to move around as well. But I'm more than willing to sacrifice that, because as you'll see in the final part, the centres are quite easily put back. It's certainly not a big deal. So you will notice that at times there are of course pure commutators to get the edges done. For me, I'm really happy with the one that I'm using, and I think it works well. I've got it's easy to do, it's easy to use, and the setups generally aren't terrible. Now, we've come to the point of, I said the last 3, I've got 5 remaining. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and that one there, which is actually not the same green as the rest of the face. In terms of the strategy that I used, what I did was start basically working my way, moving upwards. So do all the edges around here, and then these ones if I could, and then working upwards. So the other thing that I've done is try and keep 2 in this together, not necessarily this one, but around a place where there's 2 of these, so that I can always go and place one of these things into something else that I'm going to move back here, and keep these 2, so I don't have to search constantly for doubles that are available. If that didn't make sense, ignore it. What we've found with the 5 left is that it's probably going to get a little bit tricky, but in the same sense it may not, because we've got so few pieces left that we're going to start probably having or being able to place 2 at a time. And that's certainly the case with this one. I haven't set this up to be like this, it's just how it fell out. I suspect the last 3 will be a little bit of a nightmare, but who knows. We've got a red-green here, and I want to place that in one of these. And I notice that this is the green-purple piece, and that needs to go in this position. So what that means is that if I can get that piece up to here, then I should be able to place the green-purple into that position, which will be up here, and then this red-green into here. And I'll place two at a time and be down to the last three. So it just happens that this time the setup is not too bad. This piece is going to travel firstly up to there. So this is my double. I want to place that piece there, and you should remember that this is 2 spots away, so I can simply turn that on that face, and all I need to remember is to turn that back and then turn that back. That's a pretty easy setup. So we're going to place the red-green down to here, the green-grey to here, and this green-purple will go in place there. And so the actual sequence is exactly the same as previously. So the pieces are going this way, so we'll start by turning this lower left face, and then it's one of them, then we turn it down. Now we turn up. And final part is to turn it back down. And I'm sure many of my viewers will recognise that basically that is just 4 lots of the edge piece series. Very, very simple to carry out and remember, with a couple of these moves thrown in. Now that's completed that, and you can see the red-green has indeed placed there. If we look at this one, we can see the green-purple has placed with this corner. So we need to now move that back into position. So from memory was that, and if the memory doesn't work, we can just be guided by the colours. We're going back to there, and that did indeed place that piece. So that now leaves us with the last 3. And I've got no idea how I'm going to do this, so I'm just going to have a little bit of a look around. It's probably going to involve writing down some setup moves. I guess the first thing that I would probably attempt to do is just have one of these places as my double. I don't know which one, because I'm thinking about which one's going to be the easiest to set up. If I choose this to be the double, it means this green-red is going to have to go into this position. So I'm going to have to do something similar as before to move that position up to there. So the green-red would go there. What that means is that I will then have to get this third piece into that position for it to work. Now, anything can be done, so it's around about now when I think about starting to write some of these things down. So I probably am going to do this. We'll move the grey-green up to the top, and we'll remember that because we're going to put this position up to the top and that piece needs to go there, the direction of our pieces will be the anti-clockwise. So we're actually going to start by turning the right side. So let's try and set these up. First thing is that I don't need to remember that setup move. I will write down this one. So that's going to be, I'm going to call this up, I'm going to call this back left, and I've turned that anti-clockwise, just getting out my trusty pencil here. So that one is in position, and that one is in position. The other one that I needed to place, if my memory serves, is that one, and I'm just going to double check that it was that one. Yep, it certainly was. And so I've got to get that to there. The really, really nice thing is that it is 2 away, which means I can turn it around on this face and it won't affect the grey-green that I just placed. So the only issue now is that I don't want to dislodge that piece. Okay, so we'll move this piece out the way. So what are we going to call this face here? If I call that up and that front and that right, I'll call this one front right, and so I've just turned that clockwise. Written that down. I'm then going to turn this piece around into position, so we'll call that an up dash, and then we'll turn our other piece that we just turned off back into position. So that would be a front right dash. We've actually now done all the setups required. I've written down 4 of them, and the last one we'll figure out. And remembering again, this one, let's have a think about this. This piece here, we can actually tell this piece, the red-green, is going to flip over to there. So the direction has to be like that, and we did say we'd be turning the right first. So away we go, and we'll carry that out. And then we turn that back down. Okay, halfway through. And in the last, we turn that back down. Okay, we have completed the actual algorithm, and you can see that piece is placed. So all we need to do is undo our setup moves. So first thing we needed to do was that, and we turned that face, we turned this one back, and then we turned back left anti-clockwise apparently. So we're going to do that, and that's enough for us to now see that we can turn that into position. And as we look around, the very, very good news is that all of the edges are placed, and it only leaves us our centers. So as I said, I will put the algorithm and the mirror for the edge sequence in the description, but if you're prepared to do a little bit of writing down for setups at the end, fairly simple sequence to carry out, and you get the hang of it very quickly. Alright, onto the centers, and again with the centers I'm not going to do the whole lot of them. I'll do a couple at the start and then skip to the end. And let me again bring in my trusty cube here just to demonstrate what we're going to do. You'll remember with the corners that we held the triangle so it pointed downwards, and with the edges we held the triangle so it's pointing upwards, and the exact same thing happens with our centers. We want to hold this triangle as an upper face and make sure it's pointing upwards. Now with the cube, once again I'll do the corner piece series, which is exactly what we're going to do on our puzzle here, in case you didn't see this on the corner section of our videos. So corner piece series, we turn the upper face clockwise and then right away, anti-clockwise, left away, and then undo all those moves, and what we get is 3 corners going around like that. Nothing else has been touched. So the 3 corners there will go in an anti-clockwise direction. Now the mirror of that, the corners will go in a clockwise direction. The important thing is that again this corner here has rolled from its position there down to there, and so we've got a corner on the left that has rolled along an edge. And let me just put these back so you can see that the mirror will roll the corner that was here, like that, into its position. And what that means is that when we come to this puzzle, we're searching for any centre in the same way, so we're holding this as the upper face. Our 3 centres that will move will be this, this and this, or this, this and this. So it's always one on the upper region and these 2 down here. So I'm searching for one that'll roll, and I notice here that this green will roll down into that position. So that means my piece movement, just on the like on the cube, will be in that direction. It'll be a clockwise piece direction, so my first turn of the upper face will be anti-clockwise. Even better for us is that this 3rd piece over here, which happens to be the blue one, will go in place there. I guess that's more likely when there's a lot of centres. So how do we carry it out? Exactly the same sequence of turns as on the cube and on the corners version. Here we go. Upper face anti-clockwise, left away. Upper face clockwise, right away. Upper face anti-clockwise, left return, upper face clockwise, just feeling things pinching at the back there and I don't want to do that. There we go. Right return. And what you'll notice is that that has been placed, and not another thing has been disturbed. No edges, no triangles, no corners, nothing. That's effectively all we're doing for the centres. I'm sure you'll agree that's pretty simple. So let me do perhaps another one now. So we'll be searching for anything that will roll. So here we go, we've got the orange, that's a different orange to that, and that can roll down to there and place correctly. So that's two pieces. Most of the time the alignment is absolutely fine. On occasion it annoys me. Two pieces here. Now that means our third piece is going to be this one here. So what would be really nice is if it was possible, let's have a think, if it was possible, since this is a yellow, to make that third piece the yellow face. And I reckon, because that's the yellow face, can we do it? We can do it, but it'll knock out that. So it just depends on whether you want to be bothered with the setups. I think for this I'll just place this orange one in here and we'll have the green one go up to the top. So this time the piece movement is an anti-clockwise, so the first turn of our upper face is clockwise. I do apologise for this. I will certainly be having words with this puzzle a little bit later. Okay, hopefully that scared it into submission. We've placed that orange one. Now's probably a very good time to have words with it, so I'll cut and come back with the last few centres. Alright, we're back with 5 centres left, and so as always we're searching for something, if possible, that will roll into its position, and I think what I've got here is this sort of dark pink, which looks like it will roll down onto its correct face. So that's first 2 pieces, which means I need to place another one into here, and so that grey is not going to automatically work. We've got a limited number of pieces now, and the other 2 are over here. So I've got to do a few little manoeuvres here to get them into position. So remember, I want to put it into the pink area. I guess I could use this grey actually, depending on where I move it to. So what I might do is first move it across to the blue face, and I think then, if I'm not mistaken, I can move it to the pink face. I can, and that hasn't disturbed any of that. So I've got 2 setup moves there to undo. So what will I remember? Just to turn the right face anti-clockwise first, and then it should be pretty simple to see what's going on. So we've now got our 1, 2, 3 pieces. Let's carry it out. Danger of a single corner flicking around there, that's just something that needs to be probably glued down. Anyway, that's done and that's placed, and so we'll return the right face and then look for the colours and return that. That should take us down to 4 centres. 1 there, 1, 2, 3 over here. So once again, can we find... We certainly can't find one that's easily going to roll into position. So what we might do then is think, if we count this going to here, we know that our third piece needs to be in this position. If we could make the third piece this sort of light purple one, then that would go in place there, and that would be fine as long as we get 1 piece placed. So that should be able to, can we make it turn to there? That's the question. Actually, we can't directly. We can. Let's see what we can do. I don't really want to turn it up that way. Could I turn it... I could turn it that way, but I don't really want to. I don't want to just turn it round. I can certainly turn it off to there, but I need to get it back to here. So in actual fact, I'm going to abandon that for a minute. It's probably very simple, but not for a simpleton like myself. So I'm going to go and think about getting another one placed over to here. And I reckon, in actual fact, I might try and get this green one to here, and then see if I can move it down to there. No, that's not going to go either. And this is pretty standard for the last few centres, setting them up. What I might do next is turn the puzzle around and now think about the grey going to here and trying to place the third piece there. And should have done that the first time, because it looks like it might be far easier to do. Let's have a think. Yep, I should. Of course I say it was far easier to do, but who really knows? It was far easier to do. So I've now got the grey going to here, going to here. So what will end up happening is that the grey won't place, this pale yellow will place, and that one won't. And so this will leave us with our final three to do. So again, the piece movement is that. Let's go ahead and carry out the corner piece series. I did have words with this, but clearly not enough words. Okay, that's done. Looks like I twisted a corner in the process, so we just twist that back, and undoing the setup moves should leave us with the last three. This looks like a horrible thing, but it may not be. I guess what I'd like to do first for these last three is to find the one that's going to roll, so it's that light purple will come down to there, which then means theoretically I've got to get this light green over to the orange face here. So let me think if I can do that reasonably simply. I'll do that and then turn it down to there. I should, if I'm not mistaken, be able to turn it up. I can do that. So let's just have a think what those setup moves were. Obviously I don't have to remember that because I'll be able to see that to get it back. I've turned it, if this is my, let's have a think which faces we're on. That's actually the upper face, so I've turned this, in fact it will be this face, which will be the very down left face, and then I'm turning, which one? Now I'll never be able to find it again, will I? That one there. So the very down left face, and then it'll actually be the lower right face anti-clockwise. That'll be front right, so lower front right anti-clockwise. So let's hope I can remember that at the end. We've got now these three pieces ready to travel. So let's carry out the final corner piece series. As you can see, the sequence itself, very simple. Remembering setups, not so simple. Okay, now I believe that looks good because the colours are matching. In fact, I could probably almost forget about remembering what I did and attempt to match the colours up, but that could be very dangerous also. I reckon that's going to match there, and that's going to match there. Okay, and that is a beautiful sight. That is Eitan's star complete, solved. Thanks very much for watching. I hope it helps you. Enjoy.